There we are. We're live.
Hi there.
Well, thanks for coming on the show, Helen.
You're very welcome. You're
Very
welcome.
nice. Very nice of you to come on. When I saw your story, it was a unique one in the way you told it and stuff. I don't chase down encounters, but I come across encounters here and there, and I'm like, oh, that's a good one. I want to hear. I want that on my show because there's so many encounters on Facebook, but a lot of them. I'm not saying a lot of them, but most of them don't stand out. It's like you just get so many. You get example exhaustion, but then one like yours stands out, and we'll find out the details of that soon. So
yeah.
So you're living in England, Helen, right?
I live in England. In a town where I was born in the south coast of England, and my father was a Canadian soldier, and he came over and knew my mother soon after the war, but she was only little then, and they married in '58. And we moved to Canada in 1966 when I was 6. So do your math. And so stayed there for years until I was 24, and then came here for a 6-week honeymoon with my first husband, and we stayed. And now I have my second husband and my last husband. And I've lived here, but I visited Canada all the time.
So you were born in 1960?
Yeah.
Wow, you look incredible for being 60 years old.
Well, there's a bad side to that, but thank you. Thank you. Good living, good living. I have Ehlers-Danlos syndrome. And what that does is part of the symptoms are having the Madonna face, the youthful round face, because it preserves the collagen in your face, but ruins it everywhere else.
Oh, wow.
And personally, I would rather have had the wrinkles.
Yeah. Oh, well, never heard of that.
Yeah, I'm just going to start from it because I can see in my picture that the way my height, I've got reflection right where my eyes are. So I'm just going to get a cushion. I'll be right back.
Okay. No problem. So yeah, everybody, Helen's encounter happened in Canada, and she's going to get into the location. We got 5 people in already.
How many?
5. I usually get about 20.
Hello, people. New people coming.
So, so this happened in Canada.
Yeah, in a place called south of Bobcaygeon, a small town to the east of Toronto, about 2-3 hour drive east of Toronto, I guess. And it was a family, relatives of ours who had a cottage there. And it was just a summer cottage. It was not winterized. And so we went up there in the summer, and it was, there wasn't anything there. It was just very nice. And it was just in the woods, and they had a nice big back front yard and all that. And it was right next to the highway.
Sorry to interrupt you. What's the name of the place again, so I can just put it up on the chat?
Oh, Bobcaygeon, Caygon. Might be E-O-N. Bobcaygeon, I think. Highway
Just so people can look that up.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
While we're talking.
It's just north of Peterborough. So this cottage was on Highway 36, which then it was called Highway 36, but it was a dirt road. It was just gravel. So we're talking, I guess, summer of 70, 71, something like that. I was 10 or 11, something like that. My sister was a year younger than me. She's 11 months younger than me. And we were at this cottage, friends of ours or relatives of ours, and we used to go into the meadow that was to the west of the cottage. So Highway 69 at that point runs absolutely north-south. And the cottage was on the east side. So we cross over and we're into this meadowland on the west side of Highway 69. But it's not just plain meadow. It's sort of in a glaciated land. So you've got drumlins. Do you know what they are?
Yeah, we have them in Ireland a lot.
Yes. Oh, do you? Oh, we don't have them down here. Anyway,
drumlins,
we've got chalk cliffs down here. Anyway, so you know what I mean? Long, low humps of ground, right? That go small distance, or these ones were hundreds of yards. So, and that was to our right as we're looking down into the meadow. That was to our right, and a drum, and it rose up to about, oh, I don't know, maybe 60 feet, something like that.
It's like Teletubbies. They're drumlins, right?
No.
Oh, I thought they were. Maybe I'm thinking of something else.
Geography degree. No, they're not. Anyway, no, that's just gently undulating terrain. That's probably chalk and karst topography under there, if anything. Anyway, so the drumlin and this forest ran many hundreds of yards, like, you know, sort of on and on and on, that we couldn't see beyond it. And so there was this meadow in that, and the meadow must have been 500-600 yards, something like that. And at least, no, actually, maybe even more than that, but at least that. And then to the left of us, which is to our south, was beginnings of swampy ground, you know, beginning to see cattails and rushes and that kind of thing. And we were told, don't go down there, stay in the meadow, you'll be fine. So, and what took us down there is that we'd gone many years before, and we had found lots of 4-leaf clovers. And not just you'll appreciate this coming from the Emerald Isle, won't you? Not just 4-leaf clovers, it was 4, 5, 6, 7-leaf clovers.
Wow.
Yeah, so some sort of genetic anomaly in these little tufts of grass and stuff. So we would get them, take them back to the cottage, iron them with wax paper to preserve them, and then we take them home and we put them on card and put sticky black, like a clear plastic over it. And we would sell them to our friends. My mother would write lucky bookmark on it, and we would sell them to our friends for $1 each. And in the early 70s, for kids who didn't have a lot of money, that was good money.
Yeah.
You know, yeah. And one year we made £20 or $20, and I remember my sister and I, we put it aside, and then we bought Christmas presents for our family. And you know, when you don't have a lot of money, things like that are important, and you remember them. Yeah. So we're busy off looking for our 4-leaf, 5, 6, 7-leaf clovers into this meadow. And it was just very, like, the grass was 6 inches high, some little tufts of a foot high, something like that. Absolute meadowland, forest to our north, to our right, swampy ground to our left, to our south. And we're going on. And my father said, stay out. He said, what are you wearing? Make sure you're wearing bright things because it's hunting season. Okay. So he said, stay out of the forest. So just go in the mountains. All right. So off we went. And so we're busy hunting. And I guess maybe about 15 minutes as we're into our hunt, something like that, there was a knock, it was what we thought was gunshot. I mean, I'd never heard gunshot at that point, but that was what we thought. We heard a gunshot, and it was if we're facing west, it was to our 1 o'clock in the forest, or even behind the forest, you know, like on the other side of the drumlin, maybe down, but it was that way. And we thought, oh, better stay here on the meadow. So it was just duck hunting, you know. All right. And then a few minutes later, there was another sound, bang, to our 11 o'clock from the marshy ground. And we thought, oh, duck hunting, you know, and we just thought, right, we'll just stay here. We're okay. We'll just stay here. And we're looking around and chatting, whatever. And then I guess about 4 or 5 minutes later, there's another knock. And it's quite a bit closer to us in the forest land. And we thought, what's happening there? And then very quickly afterwards, like within 30 seconds, there's another knock in the swamp area. And you think, you know, we're getting a lot of hunters here. This is not a good thing. So no, we'll just stay here. You know, we were only young, you know, 10 and 11, 9, 10, 11, something like that. And then what made us really startled was that there was a knock that was perpendicular to us, like directly north of us. And then another one quick, directly south of us. And we looked at each other and we thought, this is not good. But then what really made us think we're in the wrong place was that we both got this feeling of, well, I don't know if my sister did. I only assume that she did because I sure did. And we both reacted the same way. this absolute feeling of impending doom. You know, like the sky is going to fall on you or something. Real fear. And, you know, like sort of, this is like something deadly is coming towards me. And I'm not, you know, this is a wrong place to be. And so we looked at each other for a sec, and then this dreadful smell came to us, like compost and like feces and dead animals and stuff, like rotting meat. This disgusting smell. And we looked at each other. She was to my left. We looked at each other, turned around, and ran. Now, we were no athletes, my sister and I, but that's probably the fastest I've ever run in my life. But just as I started to turn and maybe ran a couple, I looked to my left, which was then north at that point. And for years, I thought, I just imagined that. What was that about? And there was a Bigfoot crouched down in the grass. And I looked at it, and it looked at me, and I might have made a noise or something, and I don't remember. And I remember startling like that, and it went like that, like it really enjoyed making these poor human puppies scared, you know, and their reaction. And it laughed, you know. I mean, you didn't hear any noise, but it went like that.
Wow.
I know. But so we run to the cottage, both of us trying to get our hand on the doorknob, get in and go, oh, hi, Mom. How are you? You know, she said, oh, you're back early. Yeah, we couldn't find the 4-leaf clovers, or we couldn't find the patch again. Oh, all right. And my sister and I never said anything about it to each other ever. And, but every time one of us was asked to go outside to put the rubbish out or the garbage, sorry, got to get bilingual again, put the garbage out or go and play with our little sister. Her sister was 7 years younger than us. Or, I remember one time we were having a barbecue and she said, oh, can you take this out to your dad? He'll be eating this now, whatever it was. So I took it out, and without a word and without talking about it beforehand or agreeing it, we would both stand up and wordlessly go with the other one. Because we knew that neither of us wanted to be outside on our own, no matter who was there. You know, if there were lots of other people, we still don't want to be on our own outside. And it wasn't until I watched Finding Bigfoot, you know, the program, and I thought, that's what that was. That was tree knocks. And I did see that. I wasn't just imagining it. I did see that. You know, and it's just etched in my memory now, you know, and people who know me really well, like friends and family, they know about it, and I've told them, but it's not the kind of thing that you kind of broadcast. And I was a teacher and then a head teacher, you know,
right.
It's not the kind of thing you share in the staff room, you know, and still, you know, have your staff think that you've got a brain in your head, or that you're not drunk or something. And but it was Marisa Gondon, who's one of the followers of Bigfoot Canada, who lives in Guatemala. She encouraged me to tell my story, and so I did, and I was amazed at the number of people who were supportive and thanked me for writing. And it's just been it's changed my life about it. You know, it's quite something. I didn't think it would be this well received, or I don't know what I thought. I thought, oh, I'll just tell my story and I'll get it off my chest. And amazing.
Well, it's the way you told it and worded it too. I mean, I know it doesn't matter, but your grammar and stuff was perfect, and your description and just how you put it together was
all right. Well, being a teacher, I should have perfect grammar, shouldn't I?
Right. So can we go back to the actual creature itself? Because that's what everybody wants to hear. They want to hear exactly every single detail of what the creature looked like and how tall it was.
Yeah, and it smelled bad. I wish I could do smell-o-vision, you know.
Yeah.
Well, it was. Now, I with my degree in geography, I have a minor in fine art. I'm a really good drawer, and I love life drawing. I have a very good understanding of anatomy and musculature and things like that. So, what I can say is pretty dead on. Really, it's correct. You know,
Right.
it's an artist's eye. It's a learned eye explaining it. Um, the one that I saw, the Sasquatch or the Bigfoot or Sasquatch I saw, was probably, now my husband is 6'4", and I don't think it was his height. And it was crouching down, sort of that it had one leg. You know how you would put one leg underneath you and sit on your foot, and have another leg with your knee up, and it was his left knee up, so he was sitting on his right foot. And because of the grasses around, I only saw sort of him belly up a little bit. You know, I didn't see all of him. And he was crouching down. And in this area where he was, there was sort of a little stand of sumacs on one side, a little stand of sumacs on the other, like small plants. And then in between there was like teasels and birds and stuff like, you know, like burdocks and stuff like that. So he wasn't in the meadow part, but he was in the grassy bit. And of course, it was the end of the summer, so they're beginning to die off. So it kind of matched him. It wasn't a dark brown, but more of a mid brown, and with lighter brown bits. And the way it was on the fur, it looked like it was almost sun bleached or something. You know what I mean? That the upper parts of tufts of fur were lighter than the fur underneath. And actually, I shouldn't say fur because it wasn't fur, because it was hair. It laid flat. You know, there was no underneath. There was no underneath guard coat or anything. It was flat. And I could see that it was a youngster because the bones, like his skeleton, his shoulders, which were very, very square, no neck, very, very square. I could see that the muscles hadn't grown up, or hadn't caught up with the growth yet.
Right.
So yeah, like you notice, like, you know how teenagers get long and skinny and then they bulk up.
Yeah, my son's like that.
And it's like that. Yeah, that's what I would say had happened. And I could see that it was a boy because chest was very flat, and on the chest there wasn't, or the top part of the chest wasn't that much long hair. It was just a light hair. I could see the division between the pectoral muscles. But I could see, you know, arms and everything very well muscled, very strong. I thought that his arms were much longer than ours, because like our elbow was around our waist. But I had a sense that it was much longer than that.
Yeah.
You know, the way, yeah, everybody's going, oh yeah, she's right.
I never even thought of that.
Yeah, well, if you've drawn enough naked bodies like I have, you'd figure that out.
Yeah.
Yeah. And you know, it's just one of the proportions in our bodies. And so, but the shoulders were really broad, much broader than an ordinary man's would be. But so that's why I had a feeling that it was a juvenile, because of the musculature and the size. You know, it wasn't one of the 8-foot giants that people see. And where we were was somewhere that was very, it was remote in a way, even though the highway was going through it. You know, like there was only our cottage, our friends, our neighbors' cottage, our relatives' cottage that was in that area. You know, there was nothing half a mile to one side or half a mile or even a mile to the other side. So even though, you know, I don't know, were they playing a trick on us? I don't know. I didn't have any sense of that. I think that we were just in their space. You know, that this is somewhere that they often crossed or whatever, and we were just there because that's what I think. You know, people say, oh, maybe they were tricking us. And he certainly, when we got to the point where he could actually see us, we weren't in any danger, because he was, you know, a big, I want to say person, because I don't like calling Bigfoots creatures. You know, creature to me is an animal, like a dog, and they're far too clever and sentient for that kind of language.
How did the face look? Was it more human or more gorilla-like?
Oh no, it wasn't very human. No, it was very. Well, you remember on the Bigfoot Canada website, they had all of those
Right.
right, all of those pictures, right? It was a number 11.
Number 11.
In
I'm gonna
that,
have to
yeah,
look
in
at
that it didn't have a pointy head, had a flattish head, but a very square face, like this, where the points of the jaw and the cheekbone, the zygomatic arch here, were above each other. Like, they were straight up and down. And then it had a lower jaw than we would ever have. And, rounded, not pointed, but rounded face. And the nose was quite broad in comparison to ours. But I saw its eyes. And that still gives me, just even saying that gives me the creeps still. And this is 50 years later. And it looked at me, and I must have, I kind of remember jumping or something, or maybe I made a noise, and that's what made him laugh. Made the human kids scared, and that made him laugh.
And what were the eyes like?
There was no noise. Oh, the eyes were a reddy brown, and big in comparison to ours. What I should do, and I will do this, is I'll draw a picture.
Yeah, you're a good drawer, for sure.
Because it's, I can easily do that. So yeah, take a break from all my jam making right now, and put a picture, because I think for other people that's that would be a good thing to see, to actually see what it is, But it was it took me a long time to come to terms with it.
Also, how far away is this thing?
Oh, how far away was the Bigfoot to us?
Yeah.
6 yards.
Oh boy, that must have scared the hell out of you, two little kids. And this thing's 6 yards away. What's that in feet? I can't do yards. I have to convert it in my head to
18
feet.
20 feet.
That's close.
Yeah.
And how far did you have to run back to the cottage?
The longest minute of my life. About 300 yards, 200 yards, something like that. Yeah.
That's a long run.
What was really sort of like sort of feeling like you're trapped was that the Bigfoot, where we were, and we could smell this smell and feel this horrible feeling, and we just thought, we got to go now. He was closer to the cottage than we were.
Oh.
So we had to run past him.
So he was behind you as you were walking in?
Yeah. Or running out, yeah. He was, yeah, as we were walking in, yeah, he was behind where we were, yeah.
Man, that's every kid's worst nightmare.
Well, yeah, it is. But if he wanted to do damage to us, he could have done it like that, right? He could have outrun us, outrun one, outrun the other, done. And that wasn't the intention. That was clearly not the intention, because it didn't happen.
No,
and he was hiding from us.
All right. Okay.
He was camouflaged in these milkweed and teasels and stuff. He was camouflaged. It was a similar color to him.
And you had been going there for a few days then before this happened. So did you hear anything else? Did you think back and recognize anything that happened?
No. But I do remember, because we used to go and do fishing there and stuff, and because it was it's Pigeon Lake is the lake there. It's a very good fishing lake. And that's my husband in the background. Come back walking the dog.
I see movement there.
Yeah, that's the husband. Yeah, he's walking the dog. Anyway, and we remember my dad and I took a little track through the forest, cut out some of the pathway. We went through the forest to go fishing another time, and we saw, the structure with all like trees that had all been folded in together and arranged, in sort of a teepee kind of thing. That you just think, well, how'd that happen? That hasn't fallen properly, like, in a little bit of a clearing. And then there was a like a little lean-to shack that had been made, not very big, like about maybe 5 foot tall and maybe, I don't know, 6, 7 foot long, and it was like a shelter kind of thing. And I said to my dad, what is that? He said, I don't know. And, my father grew up in New Brunswick in a country, in the countryside. And he said, I don't know. He said, but you see them sometimes. He said, I've seen them all the time. I see them all my life. He said, I have no idea what they are. And if my dad had known what it was, he would have told me. He would have said, oh. But it was just one of those places, And so I guess they were around. They were, and because it was very heavily forested area. So, and there was good fish, there was deer, there were all kinds of stuff there. So it'd be a good place to make a living if you were a Bigfoot.
Yeah.
Yeah. And not that many human beings.
So after this happens, you don't talk to your sister about it ever again? That's strange. That always puzzles me. Why is that? Why do people not talk about it?
Because it scares the shit out of you.
So you were legit scared?
Honey, I'm still scared talking about it.
Really?
Yeah.
Even though it didn't harm you?
Yeah.
What is it that scares you, though? I mean, you know what I mean?
Bigfoot. It was this bloody great animal thing.
Yeah.
And that the only time I've ever had anything near that feeling of dread and foreboding is when I was pregnant. I was going into labor with my second boy, and he was overdue, and it was a huge baby. It was a 10-pound baby, so it was a bit of a do. And they tried to get labor going. It didn't go, so I went back home to sleep. And I sort of was just falling asleep, and then I sort of had this horrible feeling that something dreadful was going to happen. My waters broke, which that's quite normal in a pregnancy if you're a week overdue. But there was meconium in the water. So he had some sort of panic or whatever and was frightened and pooed himself, basically. And it was that kind of feeling, that kind of, oh dear, pee your pants, scared feeling. It was that kind of thing, yeah. And that's the only thing I've ever come close to feeling like that in my life since. But, yeah.
Well, I totally understand, because I have never seen one. And people say that, there's nothing to be afraid of. And if they want to hurt you, they'll hurt you. But it's still, you said, it's still this creature that is just like, some would say, an abomination, not supposed to be there. Totally shocking.
Are we supposed to be there?
Right. Yeah. Sometimes I think we're the aliens.
Yeah. Beam me up. But then here in Sussex, we have the big cats.
Right.
That were like big panther-like cats, and I saw one. We were, because it's very countrified around here. If you get out of the town, what it's like in the United Kingdom and in Europe. Towns are towns, and then the countryside is the countryside, isn't it? It doesn't sort of creep along like it does in North America,
Yeah.
And like the settlements. And we were going to see this this place where all these animals were, like a wildfowl park, and the road, because the roads in Britain, you understand this, they never go straight, do they? And so the road was kind of looping around like this, and I looked and I saw this cat, and I thought, oh, it's a little kitty cat, a little black cat. And then with my artist eye, I went, hang on, the perspective is wrong here. That cat, because we'd driven that road a few times, so I knew it quite well. That cat's feet are at the same distance away from me as that big oak tree that I know is on the other side of that bend. So that cat is not 24, 30 inches long with his tail out. That cat is 6 feet long, 7 feet long with his tail out. And I saying to my husband, put the window up. And my boys going, what? Why's just put the windows up? I was like, well, why do we have to do that? Meanwhile, we're driving past this thing. And I'm like, oh my God. And I said, look, why do you think I said that to you? I said, I've just seen the big cat. And they went, oh, and then they put the windows up. I said, no, it's too late now. It's well behind us now.
Yeah, I've been hearing about those things since the 80s. I remember being there and
Yeah,
hearing about them.
yeah. A friend of mine, she lives on the outskirts of Lewis, by the river, and she had a big lab, a big what was it, a golden lab, and she looked out of her house, this really big posh house she lived in, and there was this bloody big black cat playing with her dog,
Oh,
and it
Jesus.
was bigger than her dog. Not heavier, but longer than her dog. And she took a few pictures, and this is way back in sort of early 90s. And so we didn't have no mobile phone. She just quickly, took a picture, and of course, and processed the films. It ended up in our local papers and stuff. So, yeah, so there are things like that,
I'm just thinking, what you should actually do is go on. Do you ever hear of Bigfoot Odyssey?
No.
Well, it's probably the biggest YouTube Bigfoot channel, but they have a segment where it's called Drawing Bigfoot, and they have an artist called Larry Batson, and he is a nature artist or something, but he gets people to come on and tell their stories just like you. Well, he doesn't get them. He's the artist, and he will draw the description. And, I think 100% of the time people are like, oh my God, that's just exactly what I saw.
Yeah.
And she's from England actually too. That Danielle is from, yeah.
But yeah, it's not something that you kind of want to face, really.
Right.
Yeah, it's not something that you think, oh.
Now, did this send you on a lifelong journey into discovering or finding out about these creatures, or did you just forget about it?
Well, I did forget about it until I was a grown-up lady, and had children who were grown up. And then there was this program called Finding Bigfoot. I went, oh, yeah. Because I just kind of had always been interested in it, and always a bit interested in different things. I'm a medium and have very attuned to many things. I'm clairaudient, so I hear things. I don't see things, I hear things, which is hilarious because I'm going deaf, So, but,
right.
And I've always been like that all my life. I remember being a child and like preschooler and looking at people and saying to Mom, why are these people dressed in funny costumes over there? And she'd say, what do you mean? And I'd look back and they were gone.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. And so, I could always see things like that. So it's something that has always been in the periphery of my life, that kind of interest.
Did you ever hear the story about like actually it was the whole town, and they all witnessed a Roman column marching down the middle of the street?
Yeah.
The whole town witnessed it.
In York, I think
was it York?
Yeah.
Yeah. Everybody saw it, and it was like a ghostly apparition.
Yeah.
I'd love to read up about that.
I've seen that.
So you see things like that, you can see
all
back into time.
Yeah, and I can look at people and see their past lives and things like that. Yeah.
Really?
Which is interesting.
That is very interesting.
It is something that when I was sort of, I guess, early 30s, it was something that I entered into more. But I found that there's a lot of responsibility that goes with that kind of thing. Because people would come to me and say, "Oh, what's going to happen with so-and-so and so-and-so?"
Oh, it's like being a doctor.
Or something. And then they said, that never happened. But it wasn't so much that, it was that I felt that people relied on that rather than their own good judgment. Mm-hmm. And I didn't feel that it really helped people much, that kind of thing, and channeling. It was very interesting, and it was interesting. Like you think, oh, I've learned a new skill, but I didn't feel that it was my path. I concentrate my spiritual and psychic energy now. I concentrate on praying for people for healing and guidance and protection. Myself, as well. Bit of guidance here, please, Lord. And that's more what I put my energy into. I mean, that doesn't stop. I live in England, and it's as old as anywhere here, isn't it?
Right.
And so I can see stuff all the time. But I'll tell you, an interesting story about those Roman soldiers. We were somewhere in York, and you go through, and it's some sort of place. You have I think it was York. I think it was York. And we're underground, and it was like in the basement of this place. And my youngest son, and I could hear it. Chomp, 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 marching towards us. And so I went back to school. I was a teacher then, and I said, I've got a story to tell you. And I said, this lady, she and her son, they were in the basement and of this place, I can't remember what it was now, having this tour, and they could hear this noise, chomp, 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 all these people coming, and they could see them, but they could only see them from about just below the knee up, because they were walking on what was the old road, which was below the level. And they all kind of went, and I said, and I know this is true.
This is the story in York about.
Yeah, I'm telling the kids, I said, and I know this is true. But no, it's true. We did see them only from the knees up. And I said, and I know this is true because it was me and Robert. And they all went, like this, as you would when you're sort of 10. And I said, now, write me a story that's going to make me go, and they did. And it was the best stories they ever wrote.
Hold on. You were there in New York?
Yeah.
Incident? Oh, wow. I was told that years ago, and I'm like, that's the craziest story.
I wasn't there when that happened, but I did see them elsewhere in York. Yeah.
Wow. That's crazy. That's a whole show in itself. So with this, with these abilities, do you think that, I know this is a stab in the dark, but do you think somehow that there's a spiritual, well, everything's got a spiritual element if you believe in God, but do you think that there's a psychic element where Bigfoot's concerned?
Yeah.
In what way?
Well, I have had one contact me.
Really?
Yeah.
Like how?
Psychically. I was watching Expedition Bigfoot. And this is something hard to say because it just sounds stupid.
Right.
Right. Sounds stupid. But I was watching Expedition Bigfoot, and it was the episode where they leave some marbles out for the Bigfoot. And they come back, and the marbles are gone, but then there's a feather left for them.
Yeah, I remember that.
Yeah, that one. And there was an indigenous man, and he was saying he found a Bigfoot sleeping area and went in and just took some hairs.
Right.
And took them home. And he said that he was bothered, came in a dream, and he said, you've got something of ours. And so he had to take these few hairs back and put them back where he got them from in this sleeping thing. Then when he got back to his truck, there was an eagle feather on his windscreen. Oh. And I just found that sort of, it really, I thought it was surprising, but it was also to me very joyous. That there was that kind communication and intelligence. That and then I had one sort of come to me, and they don't understand us very much because they don't know what our motive in life is. Like why we have all this stuff, and they call us their word for us is the flats or the smooths, because everything about it is flat or smooth, right? We're compared to them, we're flat and smooth, aren't we? Right. All of our stuff is flat and smooth. Our vehicles, our technology and stuff. And they understand some things about us, but they don't understand what kind of creatures we are. In many ways, they don't understand us as we don't understand them.
Right.
But what they do see, and that, like they think, well, why are they bothering to put all these eyes up on the trees and stuff? Because we can see them. They know that all of our bush cameras are our eyes and that we're watching them. And of course, they're sensitive to the electromagnetic radiation. Right. And so they just avoid them.
Yeah, it'd be easy done if you knew the woods like the back of your hand.
Well, yeah, but it's also like, as we see a flashing light, right? They see our things. One, they can smell us. Two, they feel electromagnetic radiation. What we see and feel and hear is only a small bands of the electromagnetic fields.
Right.
I mean, when you think dogs can hear, they don't see as well as us, but boy, they hear much better than us, don't they? So there's that, but it's that was a bit odd to have that happen. Yeah, that wasn't. I've never gone back and tried to pick it up again.
Dave has a funny question here. I don't think you do past life stuff, but it is a funny question anyway.
No, I can't because I can see a nun actually, a nun in white habit. I can see that behind him.
A nun.
And that's more from Amsterdam. It's Dutch, Amsterdam area.
Well, she's probably hitting me across the back of the head because I was beaten up a lot by nuns.
Were they in white? Were they in white?
Well, they had the traditional nun uniform. I went to a convent, mostly black, but the white, they had a bit of white, I think.
No. I know this is complete white.
Oh, no, they weren't white.
Yeah, no, this is complete white, yeah. Mm.
Yeah, they weren't very nice to me. I was a troublemaker.
It's kind of hard to do because, we're not in contact with each other.
Right.
Yeah.
That's
but it's something that comes and goes, and what it does, it also gives me the bejeebers, it gives me the heebie-jeebies when it's happened. It's not something that I get used to. Because, sometimes, especially here in England with so many old buildings and so much history, you walk down a street and you see somebody hanging from something, you think, it's not always what I want to see or hear.
Now, do you think, I know what your answer to this is going to be, but do you think there's Bigfoot in England?
Apparently there are.
You believe that?
Well, I don't want to believe that. Yeah. Because I don't want to see anymore. But I do. Well, if they're sort of hominids that, because human evolution now, people understand, was not a linear thing, that there were all different branches of hominids that grew up. There was the Neanderthal, the Denisovians, there was us, there all these different branches. Well, who's to say that one of them wasn't a Bigfoot?
Right.
Who's to say that it wasn't some, because we, originating in Africa, we have no hair. We don't have body hair. We need to have other things. We need to have our technology to keep us warm and alive.
Yeah.
But who's to say the Bigfoots didn't evolve from somewhere else, that they were always hairy, so they didn't lose their hair. Because it was always, so who knows? We'll never know, I don't think. Yeah, but I just think it's a fascinating thing. Like what people have said, and what was it? Finding Bigfoot came to Britain, and I was so upset because people in Scotland certainly believe that there are Bigfoots up there. Yeah, because there's miles and miles of uninterrupted forest.
Yeah, if it's going to be anywhere, it's going to be Scotland. It's definitely not going to be Ireland because there's no trees left.
Yeah, like the south of England. I mean, we have forests, but it's not. It's hard for people in North America to understand, isn't it? That the British Isles are that big.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, and Canada is this big, isn't it? So, and we've got twice the population, like say of Canada, but in the area of Southern Ontario.
They say that you could fit the world's population in. I can't remember the county, but there's some really big county in Texas. Actually, it was Kerry from Sasquatch, Bigfoot Chronicles. It said this Odyssey. You could fit the entire population of the world into this one county in Texas. That's how big this bloody country is.
Oh, it's vast, isn't it? It's vast.
Yeah,
absolutely vast. Yeah, I remember we once drove from Halifax into New Brunswick, and it was this hellish hot day, 96 degrees. And the air conditioning in the car is not keeping up with it, and this heat is radiating off the sort of windscreen. Oh, what? We're going to meet my dad up in Long Settlement, and so we went to it, and it was just trees after trees after. And my poor husband was doing the driving, and I think he nearly went mad. He said, "I just want to see something other than trees."
Yeah.
Well, this is Canada, and it's going to be trees and trees. And I have an aunt who lives up in Cork, and I grew up in Toronto, and we used to go up to Cork. We used to break our trip halfway because it's about 20 hours driving, so you have to break it half. But it was vast. And then you look on the map, and you're only a third away up to the pole.
Right.
Yeah. So.
It's crazy.
Yeah. But it's, my father was from New Brunswick, and so we have some Mi'kmaq ancestry, which has come out strong in my appearance and coloring. And it's something that I'm very pleased and proud about.
Is this on 23 on me? 23 on me? Is that how you find that out, or you just know it from the family?
Oh, ancestry.com.
Yeah, I did both. I'm 99.9% British Irish. There's nothing else in there. I was hoping I would have some sort of a, exotic mix in there, but I'm just 100% Anglo.
Oh, it's okay. Somebody.
Oh, I
know. But my husband, he's from Kent, and he had lots of Viking in him, lots of Scandinavian.
Oh, for sure. That's
he's 6'4", and now, like me, he has platinum hair, and but it was Auburny color before. And my sister, she's found that it's come up with her that there's that percentage that is not allocated to anything else.
Oh, so you've been on other shows lately. Usually, when a guest comes out with you just joined the community, right? The Bigfoot Canada community.
A few months ago, I would think, but not because I love hearing about Bigfoot. It's like people who like going up on roller coasters. They love it, and yet it scares them to death.
Yeah.
It's like that, and I think, wow. But also, too, increasingly, I think that these are sentient, clever beings with their own rules and their own society and their own understanding, and there's something that we can just live with. And so, I think it's something that is a privilege to see.
Oh, for sure. I would love to see one from the safety of my car or something like that.
Yeah, from your shark-proof cave. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't want to walk around the corner and one of these things to be standing right there. But then I don't get to pick the scenario. I know that.
Well, this is it, isn't it? And I was talking to somebody yesterday, and he was saying that he and his friends, and this is when he's a grown-up man with kids and grandkids, and they just thought they're having a lark, and they went and parked the truck up somewhere at night. Thought, yeah, we'll just have a look, see what happens. And they saw one, and it scared the life out of them, And I think this Bigfoot's probably thinking, what's all that noise in our patch here? Let's go and have a look at these, what's going on here?
Yeah.
Yeah. And I think that's it. What really frightens me about it is when people want to go out with, with guns and stuff to find a Bigfoot and kill it, kind of thing. And that's it. It's not as if you're, anything shouldn't be killed for no reason, and it's not as if you've actually got something that you don't, we don't understand. So why would you kill it? I mean, if it was charging for you, okay, but not just to go and stalk it. Well, you're not going to stalk a Bigfoot. They know that you're there.
Yeah. Well, I don't think that notion's very popular, and not in the Bigfoot community anyway. When someone comes out with that, they get ripped to pieces, But I'm sure there's some, the type that probably, load up on their pickup and drive out, and especially after this announcement about Oklahoma to capture one alive, you'll get like $1 million, But that's never going to happen. I think that's just.
How would you capture one alive?
I don't know. I just can't think of any way that you would. Usually the one you've seen that probably wasn't alone. I don't know if another one could have been hiding close by.
I don't know. I don't know how you'd capture one alive. That would be quite something, wouldn't it?
Yeah, tranquilizer dart is the only thing I can think of.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, you'd have to sort of see something, calculate its weight, and then shoot it in the backside or something, wouldn't you?
Yeah, exactly. It's
Yeah.
a crazy
But,
notion.
but at least on one side, you have to say, well, at least these people are acknowledging the existence
Hmm.
of a Bigfoot, isn't it? They're actually acknowledging that these things do exist and that they want to know more about them. You know, it's not as if they want to see if they just taste good. It's they want to understand it. But one thing that was really sort of um, uh, a standout moment for me was when I heard somebody on probably Finding Bigfoot, and he was saying, "Oh, they were talking in their language to each other,"
Yeah.
and I thought, "Wow, their language, wow." And he said it was an absolute conversation back and forth, and you think, "Ooh, you
Yeah,
know,
they definitely have a language for sure.
yeah, yeah." And other things, I mean, we know that elephants, now that our technology is caught up, we know that they have ultrasonic communication over tens of miles and stuff.
Hmm.
So can the Bigfoots do the same? If one could make me feel like the earth was going to end and scare me to death, then they can do quite a lot of things. I think they probably communicate with each other that way as well over distance.
Yeah, I wonder if it's something that they developed. I have this weird theory in my head that,
Mhm.
um, like they are a branch of um, human, and they were they retreated into the woods to get away from us because we were killing them all off. That's kind of where I go when I think about it. Kind of like, I'm not saying it's what do you call those guys? Neanderthal. But you know the way we killed all of those off, we were probably killing all of these off too. And that's why they
Well, no, they
retreated
don't.
deep into the forests.
Yeah, they don't think they were killed off. They think that they kind of died out.
The Neanderthals?
Well, yeah, they weren't as well adapted. Yeah,
Oh, okay.
yeah.
That's how much I know.
No, sorry, I'm just reading a book on it.
Yeah.
Well, it's called Kindred, and it's about how close to us Neanderthals are, and what the interaction was. And also, too, we most people, if you, for instance, here in the UK, most people, if you families from the UK, you're going to have Neanderthal genes.
Yeah, I definitely do. I looked it up. No, 23andMe, I have something like 250 variants or something, is it? They call it variants?
For what? In your gene?
Neanderthal, yeah.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
Oh, that's
So,
quite a bit.
yeah. So they must have also, mated with us and stuff, and we're part
Oh,
Neanderthal.
absolutely, absolutely. And I think maybe that's where they went.
Yeah.
You know what I
Into
mean?
us.
Yeah, it's like my husband is, from the east of Kent, where the Vikings would have landed. But also, they didn't just land and conquer, like land and conquer and steal things and go home.
Yeah.
They settled.
Yeah.
Because people had to sort of gather all the stuff, all the goods and furs and whatever that import tin from Cornwall and all that to sell on back to Scandinavia. So there were people here who sort of worked as agents and stuff. Now we don't have people who look like Vikings in Britain, but we have their genes.
Right.
That's actually a very good analogy, isn't it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I've seen some people like growing up in Ireland and stuff. You see some people that I had a friend and he was just like totally Norwegian looking, But also, like Dublin was founded by the Vikings. It was their center of operations outside of
the Black Pool.
Yeah, Blackpool too.
Yeah. It was that's what Dublin is in no, this is the Black Pool.
All right.
I love Dublin. Great place, Dublin.
Yeah.
It's fun, yeah. My ex-husband lives there now, but it's but it's a great place to be, great place to visit.
Yeah.
But with the Bigfoots, I think that, say, I know with the indigenous people, they have had a long relationship with the Bigfoots or Sasquatch. A friend of mine who I do porcupine quill art, which is something I was taken up this year during COVID, and part of my Mi'kmaq ancestry. And a friend of mine who I get my birch bark from, I got my quills and birch bark from him, and now we're being very good friends. And we never met each other, but we're good pals. And he did his art qualifications and some years back. And what he did for his sort of thesis was he got a grant and he went to the Vancouver area in Canada and to study Salish and Haida art, which if you can see behind me, you see I've got some there. Oh, yeah. And, he said that they were going out and they were learning bushcraft and about harvesting birch bark and spruce root and such, so things like that they would need for crafts and to make baskets or whatever. And there was this chief with him, and he was giving all of them this, it was a small group of people giving them the tour. And they went up to this ridge in this forest, and to their surprise, they could see these trees that were cedar trees. There was the stem of the tree, where you can tell I've got a tree surgeon son, not the stem, the trunk, as we would say it, as normal people. And then the roots on the top. So these cedar trees had been felled, somehow broken or whatever, stuck in the ground, and they had the roots. And they were every so often along this ridge line. And the chief, he said, we've been with this chief for days. He was a really sturdy guy, a really good guy. And he was visibly uncomfortable, sweat on his brow and things, right? I'm just showing you this here because over there is where the Sasquatches are. They don't come our side of the ridge and we don't go on theirs. And I thought, So they, and this is a friend who's told me this. It's someone I totally believe him. And so there is that coexistence. And I think there probably has been that coexistence. Because I don't know which language it is, but I know, Sasquatch, the Eastern or the Western bands call him Sasquatch, Western North America. But there are other bands that call him Little Brother.
Yeah, right.
And so that's an acknowledgement of some sort of family connection, isn't it?
Yeah.
Or that feeling of family connection.
Yeah, every tribe has a name for it.
Yeah. And they're respectful names.
Yeah.
And it's that, they're there, we're here, sometimes we see them. And amazing. And it was in Bigfoot, Canada, where this man was saying that his grandfather said, oh yeah, we used to play with them down, we used to see them and the young ones, and we used to play with them.
Wow.
I know, but they were fine. And then when their mothers found out or their auntie found out, and that was it, they were never allowed to go back down there again.
Now this you said you're going to draw a sketch. We'll end on this point. I was going to get number 11, you said on that chart.
Yeah.
I was actually going to include it in the thumbnail so people could see what you're talking about, or do you just want me to wait on your photograph? How long would that?
Sure, that, but I'll send you a photograph.
Yeah, definitely. I'll put it up on the site. That'd be awesome.
Sure. Right. So that I know, so I can. When are you? Is this going to be continually broadcast, or do you on your site?
Yeah, this is going to go up and it's going to stay up there.
Okay.
As soon as I hit end broadcast, it'll just start processing. It'll be up immediately, but all of the chat and stuff takes like a day to process.
All right. Good thing I didn't swear much, hey?
Oh, I don't care.
No, me neither. But I will say to the people who are in the Bigfoot community, and I really appreciate this, that if anybody has had an experience or close to an experience or knows somebody and has been with them when they tell their story, they know that it's not an easy thing to do. And that every time you tell it, you relive it. Yeah. And so it's not easy to do this. And so which is why I hadn't really said anything about it, because I'm a very verbose, open person, but this is the kind of thing that people can get very ridiculed for, but I have had nothing but kindness and acceptance and support.
Yeah.
Which is, you can't always say that about communities. So thank you, Bigfoot community.
Well, I had the opposite. Well, not the opposite, but
Mm.
I posted a whoop that I heard in Oklahoma with Dave from Bigfoot More. He's in the chat.
Oh, yeah.
And, a lot of people said, it doesn't really sound like a Bigfoot whoop, might be a juvenile, but it sounds like a woman. If you were where Dave and I were, there wasn't some woman in the woods whooping like a Bigfoot. It just didn't happen. There's no way. But other people, like on Reddit and stuff, flat out called me a liar and I was making it up. I mean, got into heated arguments and stuff.
Why would people make that kind of stuff up?
I don't know. And I actually got really mad. For one, they're calling my friend Dave a liar, who is one of the most respected researchers out there. And they're calling me a liar too. And I ended up leaving the forum, and I'm never going to post anything in there again. Most people just post like coffee cups and T-shirts and stuff, and that's why nobody that's serious goes in there and posts anything, because of all of that kind of attitude, And they're more anonymous. It's not like Facebook where you can see the person's picture and stuff. So there's a bit of repercussions. They're on Reddit. It's just like a little logo beside your name, so people can say whatever they want. And so people think they're smart and they're trying to get brownie points by looking like the big skeptic, and they take you down and they use clever words and stuff. And so, yeah, it takes a lot to come out and tell your story. And that's just, I'm just talking about a whoop. I can't imagine how you felt having to tell that kind of a story. It takes a lot of courage to tell that. But thank God there's things like Facebook and stuff where you can come into a community.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. But it's also, to tell them that you've actually communed with one psychically too. That's a bit of that's my big step. That's the big one. But tell me, what drew you to my encounter? Because I've seen other encounters and read about them and stuff. But what was it that made you think, I believe this woman?
I don't know. It was your wording. I mean, I'm a kind of a grammar Nazi, so it was how it was laid out and stuff, and. I could tell that you were
time to write it. Yeah, it took me ages, a couple hours.
Yeah, I could tell you put effort into it, and it was very descriptive. And I could, and the way you said that, it kind of laughed at you. That really stuck out. So I'm like, that's the first time I've ever heard of that.
Yeah.
And I don't know, it was just believable. I mean, there's some stories that, that's the reason why I believe in Bigfoot, is because I come across stories like yours and Carrie Arnold's, and there's a few others that. Before I even got into this whole journey a couple of years ago, I kind of didn't really think about Bigfoot. I like all that kind of stuff, but, Bigfoot was one of them. But I didn't realize how many encounters and how deep this went until I started to get into it. Then I started to meet people, and I'm like, I'm going to start telling these stories on a YouTube channel,
Right. It's like when you see on, like Finding Bigfoot or the other Bigfoot programs. I mean, that's all we get that, and Expedition Bigfoot here, and that's all we get. Or that's all I get on my satellite provider anyway. And but what always resonates with me is when you have these people, and like you'll have people who are ex-Marines and stuff shudder, tear up, and they're sort of going. And then I saw, and you can see that that trauma is not the right word, but it is a trauma, but that sort of fear and that depth of experience is still with them 20, 30, 40 years later.
Yeah.
Yeah. And things just, you don't get that from just having a fright. That like it goes to a much deeper level than just that, and especially if like I got where you get that awful feeling of dread and foreboding.
It's funny because I never told you this, but when I was camping with Dave, I was woken up at 3 a.m. to someone walking around our tent. And I just thought about this today, and I don't know why I never thought about it, but you're talking about the fear and foreboding. When I woke up and I heard that thing, I absolutely was paralyzed, not totally paralyzed, because the first thing I did was I put my hands over my ears, and I just wanted it to go away. And I could feel the heart beating in the middle of my ears, and
Yeah.
it was pounding. I mean, it was felt like it was going to come out of my chest. And the
Yeah.
fear is, I don't remember feeling fear like that
Yeah.
ever. I don't think ever. Maybe
Yeah.
when I was a kid and I thought I heard a banshee one time, and it was just a cat crying, but it was on Halloween night, and that made it worse.
Oh yeah.
I don't
Well,
remember ever
that's
being that scared.
movie, yeah.
So maybe it wasn't just fear. Maybe it was something they were projecting. But man, I was scared, and I got up, and Dave and stuff, we all got up and looked around a little bit, and I got into his pickup, and I'm like, "This is where I'm staying tonight. I'm not getting back into that tent." And I put the sleeping bag over my head.
Yeah, you thought, right, can't get me now.
well, I thought if
I got a
this thing,
sleeping bag on my head. Woo!
well, it wasn't that. It was if this thing comes back and puts its face up to the window or something, I'll have a heart attack. That was what I was thinking. It would come back in when we all went back
My
to sleep.
husband, the other day, I mean, you can't see, but I use a mobility scooter. I'm waiting for new hips, and so my husband put it back in the garage, and he said, "Oh, open the back door, will you? And I'll come in that way." And I said, "All right." And I went to the loo, and I'd forgotten to open the back door, and I heard this bang, bang, bang. I thought, the dog's going mad. We have a dog. He's that big, that dog, and he just goes mad, And I thought, what? And I saw my husband right up in front of the thing, and I thought, it was so close that I couldn't see that it was him. And I thought, those poor people. If I saw Bigfoot outside the window, I would probably just wet my drawers.
Yeah, people have.
Yeah, and I wouldn't blame them, would you?
No, not at all. I'd be one of those people.
Yeah. And because I like when I see things from the other side, and I just, sometimes it's fine. Like, I speak to my father most days, and that's okay. I don't mind that, And other people that I've known who have passed, I speak to them, and that's okay. But when it's somebody who, I go into somewhere and there's this person, because as I can see them, they can see me. And they're going, oh, somebody to talk to. I've been here for hundreds of years, and here's somebody who can see me finally. And I go, will you just go back to where you were? I don't want to talk to you. And it's like, how you're on the street and people try and hand you leaflets and stuff like that. And no. It's that kind of thing. You don't
just do a big C shape around them.
Yeah. My father, when he died at 96. And he was only in hospital for a week. He'd been out and about driving the week before, taking my stepmom out for dinner and stuff and shopping. And his heart and his kidneys just gave up. When at 96, they're allowed to, aren't they?
Right.
And the time before that he'd spent any overnights in hospital was 1968 when he had his gallbladder out. So he only died about 5 years ago. And anyway, so we knew that he was going to die and all this. And I went downstairs and he died very peacefully. And I went downstairs and I said, "Oh, Dad, are you going to haunt me now then?" The kettle turned on. And it was like 2.5 meters away from me. And I thought, oh, shit. And I said, "Dad, was that you?" And I had this sort of like a little homeopathic vial. And this is a lipstick, but, and it was like that. And it fell over on the table. And I was nowhere near it. And there was nobody else downstairs except me. And I went, oh, great. And I thought, oh, it's good. I like that idea. It's my dad, And of course, well, though it was no surprise or shock his death, it hurt me very, very hard. And I grieved very hard for him. And because we got on so well. And so I was getting together some funeral flowers because I was very ill and couldn't go. I couldn't travel. I had bronchitis. I couldn't travel. And back to Toronto. And so I was going to send some flowers. And I got onto the florist that I knew was near him. And I said, right, Dad, what would you like on these? And I'm looking at each one of these things. And there was this one that was just like a diamond of red roses. And my liquid crystal display on my monitor sort of went, like if you touch it, how it goes funny like that.
Yeah.
And I thought, Dad, was that you? And it went again and it did it again.
Wow.
I know. So that's what I sent. So those, those kinds of things are fun, and that, well, not fun, but it's comforting, and it's I like that side of, being able to talk to people like that.
Well, I'll tell you this story. I end on this. Actually, we've gone way over the hour. The guy that taught me how to plaster was my dad's best friend, and his son died suddenly of some undiagnosed heart condition at the age of 29. This was
Yeah,
like 15 years ago.
isn't it? Yeah.
And it was a total shock. And at the funeral, it was in one of those, the funeral cortege was on one of those little old Irish country roads, You have to pull up onto the embankment to let another car past. And this car came along and it pulled up onto the embankment to let the funeral procession pass. And the kid's name was Damien, but everybody called him D for short. Even his parents called him D. And the license plate, the way the British license plates are, it said ALLOKD. It was all okay, D. And people started to surround the car, and the lady inside started crying. And they got a photograph of it. It was the craziest story I've ever heard because, I don't know whether to believe in ghosts or not, but that was a crazy story. And he's had other things happen since that. But
wow, well, that's fabulous. It's
it made him feel really good.
Touch, yeah, it's that touch of them, isn't it? Touching you. And I just had a stay in hospital with COVID. I was very, very ill with it, and my native or indigenous genes went against me there, and I had that allergic reaction in my lungs and stuff. And so I was quite ill, and I didn't realize how ill I was. I just thought they were being really friendly and attentive, and in the hospital. And I thought, why are they spending the time with me? I'm sure there are other people who need their help, Oh, well, nice. And I saw my dad, and I said, oh, what? Are you coming for me now? And he went, oh, stop it. I'm not, you got another 20, 30 years in you now, because I don't know exactly the time. You got 20, 30 years in you now. Be quiet. Just seeing how you are. I thought, God, you're getting me told off from the other side.
Wow.
But it also made me think, okay, fine. I'm not dying. I'll be fine, because I was very ill. But I believe that we are a soul and we have a body.
Yeah.
That what is us is our soul, and that lives in many other dimensions without us even understanding it or being aware of it, I think. And so when that vibrant life force, is set free from its body, when our body dies, I think that's when our life really starts.
Goes back to the universe.
Yeah. To the loving part of the universe. Yeah. I think so. Yeah. And so our Bigfoot friends, maybe they understand that better than us.
Well, that's a good note to end on, Helen. And I thank you very much for coming on and telling your story.
You're welcome.
And I hope your friend in Guatemala can, I don't know if she's live, but it'll be up on my page. So I'll send you the link to it.
Your No Such Thing page.
Yeah, it'll be right up there on the front page.
Right.
All right, Helen. Well, thank you very much.
You're very welcome. And I'll start drawing tomorrow.
All right. Well, appreciate it. I'm going to end the broadcast.